All right, thank you very much. Well, it's absolutely my pleasure to have us all back again. And now we have the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, fondly known as the T, that's here with us today, and just absolutely excited to hear about their plan with us, not for us. And I'm going to just say this acronym PUN4U, and I'm gonna let them take it away, okay? But the team members are Josiah Marshall Scott and Adam Shaw, and then their team advisors have been Mella Bush, and I'm going to say Mella because I've known Mella for years, and she's been a noted community activist for all of her life. And she's with Alternatives for Community Environment, ACE, and ACE has been well respected and operating in the Massachusetts area now for, I think, about 25 plus years, okay? And so delighted to see that you, I believe, are the team advisor, one of the team advisors. And then we also want to make sure and acknowledge Paula Fallon, and Paula has been what we call fondly one of the program advisory committee members for the MBTA on this one. Of course, your new president, okay, Mr. Ingham, have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, and of course, your deputy general manager, Jeff Gonville, who really were very, very instrumental in terms of the leadership to bring this program to fruition. And Claudia Smith Reed, who's been in there just working hard, and Liddy Chan. So let me tell you a little bit about this project, and then we're going to turn it over to the Boston team members to introduce themselves, and then we'll take it into the video. The IA Boston project really expands on an equity-centered project of ACE True, okay? This community-based collaborative between the ACET Riders Union and MBTA will define and operationalize an infrastructure that continues to give voice to MBTA ridership. The IA Boston Innovation Challenge expands this work to more fully engage residents, commercial and religious organizations that live and serve Boston's most culturally diverse neighborhoods that are customers of these public services. And I do have to say that as I was reading on this one, knowing the area so well, it was really a lot of nostalgia in there. And the goal of this challenge, to just squarely put it, is to bring a collective voice to the decision-making process that is inclusive and that brings with it a very strong equity-centered lens. And so with that, I want to turn it over now to Josiah and also to Arthur Mitchell to introduce themselves, and then we will take it into the 3-minute video, their compelling statement, and then from there, they will go through their full presentation. So let me turn it over to you. I think, Josiah, I'll have you, Josiah Marshall Scott, and then and Arthur Mitchell, to tell us a little bit about yourselves.
My name is Josiah. I am 24 years old. I've lived in Boston my whole life. And I think that I have a unique perspective on this issue because I took the T for a lot of years in high school and while I was an adult, but then I also started driving. So I have an experience from both sides. Go ahead, Adam.
My name is Adam Shaw. I have also lived in Boston my entire life. I am 21 years old, currently a student at UMass Boston, and I rely on public transportation to get me to and from school a lot. So I have a lot of opinions on the matter of the MBTA and how to improve it, how to help it serve the community better.
Okay, and Mella, if I could just maybe take it to you for just a couple of minutes to just give you have that big perspective in terms of the state of transit and advocacy and environmental justice within the area. If you might want to share a few comments.
So I got involved with transit justice and transit advocacy because I have a son with asthma and I was concerned about air quality and reducing our particulate matter so that my children and grandchildren and family members could breathe. So I've been working on transit justice and advocacy since about 1998. And for 14 years, I led a community process to get 4 new stations built on the Fairmount line. This is where I met Dr. Bev when she was coming on board while we were in that process. And we got to cut all of those ribbons, well, most of them, 3 stations, ribbons, and break ground and things during her service here. And I continue to work for transit justice and look at ways to innovate and to bring better planning processes, lowering fares, getting more service, and increasing the, making the public transit more sustainable.
Okay, thank you, Mela. And now let's take it into the 3-minute video.
Cool. All right.
Plan with us, not for us. Shirley Chisholm said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Historically, the MBTA and the bureaucracies that back the MBTA's plans have proposed new and what are perceived to be innovative plans, such as bus rapid transit, redesigning the entire MBTA bus network, transforming payments, systems to collect fares, but riders have awakened to higher fares and entire bus routes going missing. Transit-dependent communities, who are mostly lower income and riders of darker pigmentation, often feel victimized by their lack of input and plans being made without their consent. A case in point reference here, the 2009 28X Bus Rapid Transit Project, which was proposed to run up the center of Blue Hill Ave. This project would have used millions of dollars of the Obama administration's recovery funds and was announced by Mayor Menino and Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick at a press conference one morning in May of 2009. Nice. Invest millions in Black communities of Dorchester and Roxbury. I mean, was there something that just wasn't quite right with this? Yes. No leaders or residents at the municipal or state level were consulted. Plans were finalized with no community input. Epic fail. The community and all who represented it said, plan with us, not for us. Well, maybe not those specific words, but now we're in the same predicament. Like the 28X 2.0, only this time we are in the mix. Our innovation challenge takes MBTA plans and puts youth to the front lines, taking it to the streets. This is our transportation, this is our future, and it's being played with in real time. Youth must lead and engage adults. We'll bring surveys designed by youth and engage riders, residents, and business owners. A team of youth will lead the T-Riders campaign as it relates to lane reduction, street redesign projects, and rerouting of the 28 and 22 buses.
All right. Thank you so much. MBTA, the floor is yours. You guys can share your screen.
Thank you. All right, this is our IY Innovation Challenge pitch.
I don't think your screen has been shared yet. I think you have to click the green button at the bottom. And then from there, she can share your screen.
Sure.
I can see
then,
your screen now.
And then slideshow in like the top right. Yeah, cool.
Can you guys see it
Okay.
now?
Oh, yep, you're good to go.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is our pitch for the IY Innovation Challenge, Boston. All right, community engagement. We feel that scheduled community contact events are not consistent with times riders are available. They sometimes host these events too early in the day when people aren't available to get away from work or school. And they're currently conducting online surveys and digital communications that leave riders' opinions unheard. If you go on the T, they have a lot of posters with QR codes hanging up, and that's a way for you to take a picture of the QR code and do a survey. But Not a lot of people are gonna do that. They mostly just walk by. So we don't feel that's an effective way to get an opinion from the community.
We also feel as if the MBTA is very disconnected from both its riders and the government organizations it's supposed to be answering to. We found that 88% of riders that have been contacted by ACE had no idea about the MBTA's proposed bus network redesign. Myself, I hadn't even known about these plans until I was interning with ACE last summer. And we did an exercise to see how the proposed plans would affect all of us. And we came to the conclusion that we would all be affected in different ways. Myself, I found that I would not have any real way of getting to UMass Boston, which is the school that I attend, by the bus. And that would make my entire commute much more difficult, much more frustrating. And I felt as if I was being planned for, not planned with. Right? And an example of the MBTA planning for the community, not with it, is the 28X bus rapid transit project that was mentioned in the video we just watched. Generally, the community didn't like that it was going to congest Blue Hill Ave so much, and it did not receive the public backing that was expected, so it was eventually scrapped because the people did not support it.
All right, equity analysis. The MBTA's equity analysis is utilized by the T and it needs to improve. The bus network redesign project was approved prior to the equity analysis being completed and presented to the board. There was a project that the MBTA had. It was the bus network redesign project. And before a project can be approved, there needs to be an equity analysis conducted and presented to the board. That should have been approved first, but it was actually inverse. The project was approved and the equity analysis wasn't brought forward until after. And the MBTA also failed to do an equity analysis on the late night bus service. Here in Boston, the T usually stops running around 3 o'clock. And there's a community where it usually starts running around 1 o'clock, sorry about that. And there's a community of late night workers that need to get on the bus later than that. And the T did a pilot program to help these workers. But after a year, they cut the program off, leaving workers sometimes stranded at work, sleeping in their cars or sleeping in the break room. We just feel like if they are going to cancel these projects, they need to be sure that they're not affecting anybody. All right. So we're going to focus now on how we're going to rewrite the narrative. And one way we are going to do that is send the youth out into the communities to get the feedback from these riders. And as you can see in the picture, we have one of our youth advisors talking to some people from the community at Dudley Station.
So our rallying cry is plan with us, not for us. We don't want the MBTA to put the plans that it thinks will help us into effect. We want plans that we've had input on and we actually know will help us. So the T Riders Union plans to conduct thousands of surveys to address community engagement, communication strategies, and the Title VI agenda. And part of that involves 12 days of surveying in July, performed by 5 to 6 young adults, 3 days a week, as a means of getting the community's youth involved in the project and getting their voices heard. And the surveys will target every aspect of the community: businesses, residents, riders, business owners, and elected officials, and everything. Everyone who uses the MBTA will be targeted for surveys.
All right, another one of our solutions. This isn't really for the, how do I say this? This isn't really for the equity in the MBTA. This is to bridge the gap between career paths between the youth in the MBTA. And we figured a way to do, we figured a way to do that was to promote IY career paths and make sure that the youth know that these opportunities are available to them, because we feel like a lot of them don't. Design creative opportunities for promotion of transportation careers. We feel like if we can just get some of these youth to talk to people that are involved in the unions, then they'll have a better insight to what the union can provide them. Yeah. Just wanted to thank you guys for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to take a moment to reset the time on the clock. And this is a point where we're going to open up the judges Q&A. So Leslie, if you go ahead and lead that for us.
Oh, you're on mute right now.
Thank you, Troy and Isaiah. Good afternoon, everyone. And we're so thankful to have the MBTA team joining us. I'm on the West Coast, and so I get to send greetings all the way across the country. I'm serving as the chair of the judges panel, along with 4 other esteemed colleagues whom I will introduce. We'll start in order and call our first judge, Andrew Brennan, who is a local there, and I think a former T employee. So,
Yes.
question, Drew?
Yeah, I am. Thanks, Leslie. Yes, I am. Just in full disclosure, I had a long and wonderful career at the MBTA. Spent many years there and was there during it's called the 28X situation, and have a perspective on how everything went and maybe could have gone differently. I'm really interested in your survey approach. So those are boots on the ground, people kind of clipboard taking a survey, correct? Is that how it is?
Yeah, along Blue Hill Ave, there's a lot of businesses, so we
Yep.
just wanted to send about 5 or 6 youth advisors out there with surveys and just go up and down and talk to the businesses, riders,
Okay.
churches, anybody that's really going to be affected by the change on Blue Hill Ave.
So it's more a narrative kind of survey. I mean, it's not like pick A, B, C, or D. You're talking, you're getting full conversation input, right?
Yes.
I was interested in when you talked about going and working with the unions as a pathway to careers. Have you thought about talking to people like operators and others for survey information, how they view, like, those that drive a bus every day have a different sense of, how service should be delivered and what they should be doing and what the riders need. Have you thought about using the operators and T employees, frontline employees, as a source of survey information?
A source of survey information for connecting the youth to the careers in the T?
No, towards the first piece, your first piece about you're going to be sending out people to do surveys, and you're going to talk to residents and riders and everybody else. I'm wondering if you thought about talking to operators, and you're asking them about, if I understand it, how should service be delivered? What are your service needs? Things like that. I'm wondering if you've thought about using operators as a source of information. They have the best sense of what riders experience, what they, how things operate. It would be an interesting perspective in your survey.
We have not thought about that. Thank you for the input.
I think it would be a different perspective, and I think you'd get answers surprisingly close to the way you feel about things.
Yeah.
For the input.
That's it.
Thank you, Andrew. Next, we'll call upon our second judge, Lisa Kane, who's with Cubic Transportation Solutions. There she heads UMO Solutions and Market Development. And with an IT background, take it away, Alicia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this project. I think it's one that is really needed, not only at MBTA, but across the industry. Having the input of the community is critical and key. And my question is, this looks like a historical problem, correct? Like, each administration has come in and had a similar problem in trying to engage the community. Is that a correct statement? So how do you plan on in your implementation and moving forward, how do you plan on allowing for this to become part of the normal operating process within MBTA and the community at large, and getting buy-in from folks like the board and the upper management in MBTA?
You know, I think the most important thing is to establish a point of several points of connection between the community and the MBTA. So have voices who can access the MBTA and the community. I think that's like where it has to start. I don't think it's enough to just leave it at that, because then you could run into the same problem where you only have 5 people who can access the MBTA and that's it. But I think the starting point has to be establishing that kind of bridge between community and MBTA so that concerns can be heard, voices can be heard, and then gradually build off of that, where the MBTA becomes more involved in the communities, and the communities also know they can go to a variety of different outlets if they have grievances with the MBTA.
And I'm looking for how you, have you thought about how to kind of solidify that process? If you go through this to implement and then afterwards, you know, you want to make sure that it's ingrained within the agency that the community is important. So I'm just looking for, have you thought of the plan after you start this survey and go through the process?
Do you have anything? I think it is part of what we're planning at the moment, but I don't think we've got there just yet.
Okay, and that's fine. I think you guys have a good start, and I think engaging the community in some of the manners that you're looking for is an excellent start.
Thank you, Alicia. We'll turn next to our third judge, and that's Julia Gessner, who's the Director of Administration at TransDev US. Julia?
Hi, thank you all for your presentation. You bring up something that's really critical to all agencies to consider. But I will say it also can be easy to lose sight of, making sure that you're fully working with your community and listening to what they need. One question that I have related to that is, at some point, the reality is all of our agencies are facing an issue where they have to balance budget and service at the same time. So you brought up an example of service being cut, but that service being service that was vitally needed to members of the community who were working, you know, that third shift that's later in the evening and then having to sleep at their office. So my question would be, as the MBTA, if they move forward with getting more engagement with the community, how would you recommend they decipher between when they can actually keep a service the way that it is versus when they need to make that difficult decision on service?
I think it comes down to how many people need access to that route. Because it's not like the route that was taken away, it's not like it was only 2 or 3 people taking it. There was a lot of people getting off work at that time. A lot of people that needed to get home. I think that's one of the points that they can focus on that I can think off the top of my head.
Okay.
That's a really good approach.
Okay. And next up is our fourth judge, and she's Greer Johnson Gillis from the Jacksonville Transportation Authority in Florida, where she's the Senior Vice President, their Chief Infrastructure and Development Office. Greer?
Thank you, Leslie. And hello, MBTA. Thank you for your presentation. This was a pretty impactful, especially what you're trying to do and engaging the community and having a youth engage the community. I'm gonna piggyback off a question the first judge asked. You know, here in JTA, when we actually embarked upon our strategic plan, we decided to do a survey, and we surveyed the riders, the customers. We surveyed businesses along the routes. And then someone actually came to us and said, there's other people you need to speak with to make sure you get the full picture. And so we expanded our survey to other stakeholders. Let me ask you, especially as you embark upon this, have you given thought to expanding that survey to others who may not be riders, but still could be impacted one way or another, directly or indirectly, by what happens on the Route 28?
Yeah, I think that is part of what we are considering with the discussions with business owners and how they feel about things like the Blue Hill Ave bus project that has dedicated specific lanes to just the buses, that has taken away parking spots along the route, which affects businesses and people's ability to park there. And so we've been considering, like, how does this affect business owners? How does this affect people whose employees use work or use the public transportation to get around? For example, a doctor whose cleaning staff may use public transportation to get to the hospital or doctor's office. And if the transportation is affected one way or another, their cleaning staff may not be able to get to the office on time, and that could offset a whole chain reaction that slows everything down. So we have been putting thought into, as you said, people who may not obviously be affected, but would be affected in one way or another.
Piggyback off Adam too, I didn't think about it earlier, but there are a lot of people that have perspectives on this that I didn't think their perspectives would differ from the MBTA, like, I don't know, police officers that are on the street, construction workers that might just be standing there doing their job and noticing changes. I want to give that insight. I got that from the judge earlier that worked in the T that said we should talk to operators, and made me think about those people. So thank you.
Oh yeah, very good, very good. One thing that can think about, nonprofit organizations, because they're normally giving out free passes for people, returning citizens or residents who are just getting back on their feet. So you may want to consider that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Greer. From my perspective, it seems that your project attempts to address deficiencies or shortcomings in the T's outreach and engagement process. So I guess my question is resource oriented. What strategies would you think you need to pursue internally to make the T more responsive to the efforts that you all will undertake? And can you attach some sort of resource estimate to it, number of people, cost perhaps? Just those general considerations. Thank you.
I think the biggest grievance is a lack of public communication, because a lot of the MBTA does a lot of things that the public isn't adequately informed about, is in the loop about. As we mentioned earlier, 88% of people who were interviewed by ACE had no idea about this bus redesign project, and it is like a massive undertaking that will affect thousands of people. So the fact that of our sample size, 88% had no idea at all is frustrating to work with, and it would be just as frustrating for people to arrive at their chosen bus station one day just to find out their wait time is longer, or the specific bus that they usually get has been altered. They have to go somewhere else to catch it. So the main focus is improved public relations, improved public communication, and significantly improved, not just marginally better. There needs to be a significant overhaul of how that is conducted. I don't know exactly how much that would be, but it would probably have to be proportionally related to how many people use the MBTA, and that's probably in the hundreds of thousands. So it would have to be, obviously you can't hire 100,000 people to speak for the MBTA. That would be a lot. But finding a ratio that works and hiring these people to speak for the MBTA, maybe 100, give or take, and improve the public's perception of what's happening. I think that's the main focus.
Thank you, and a shout out again to the entire team for the presentation. We'll now, as we forwarded every team, we'll provide you, say, 2.5 minutes to do a session of closing remarks. Go ahead.
For a long time, I felt like my opinions about what I thought about the TEEP didn't matter. So I never really said anything. So I think that the opportunity you guys are providing for us to come together, brainstorm ideas for us to make the TEEP better, I think it was a very interesting opportunity, and one that I probably should have found when I was younger, but I'm happy I found it now. So thank you guys.
Anything else from your colleagues?
Go ahead.
For me? Oh, can I speak? I thought it was only the youth.
Briefly, okay.
I'm a youth to somebody.
Good one.
So the wonderful thing about this project is, and working with these young people over the past, even Adam over the past year, came up with so many amazing ideas around bus network redesign and how we could get the word out, using social media, taking it to the streets, getting out there. And one thing that we also did was realize that we have to bring the transit officials and staff into our community. We have to invite them into our meetings. We have to have conversations with them directly. We can't be, spread so far apart that we don't, that it's no longer public transportation. We just had a meeting with them last month because a resident rider said, "Where'd my bus stop go?" And we brought the bus stop guy. We found him, who, I don't know what his official title is, but he does all things bus stops in the MBTA. And he came to our meeting and he literally spoke to the person who called me and said my bus stop disappeared. And the morning of the meeting, because I organized with them before the meeting for a month, suddenly the bus stop sign reappeared. It was hung on a light pole, but I'm like, they went and found some coat hangers and stuff out their closet and hung the sign back up, and the bus stop reappeared. We realized there was a gap in community engagement and processes around what happens. What is the ADA implication of removing a bus stop? How does that impact people's ability to be able to get home with their groceries if they have a cane? So this is kind of an 8 to 80 approach of the youth and the seniors, and getting this intergenerational movement moving forward to actually get this whole engagement to happen. And with the youth, we really need the youth voice, because one day I'm going to stop doing this, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Very, very well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to the team for your passionate presentation. We'll turn to Dr. Scott to close us out in this session.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I can, well, let me just say this is a kind of from my heart, okay? I have to really say a lot too for the MBTA. It's a lot of vulnerability, okay? To be able to say, you know, we got to work and we need to all work together. And you know, Paula's here, she's the board secretary, all that, you know, I mean, it's like, so the bottom line is that, you know, just our commitment has been over here, and this is not about the challenge. I don't vote on anything or whatever, but we're going to be working with the team, with the T. And like I said, you know what? This is y'all's life. This is what you do. Okay. You're not making it up for a challenge. Okay. This is what you do. This is who you are. This is your truth. Okay. And, you know, God just orders steps. And so he ordered these. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. On those words, we're going to wrap up this presentation. Thank you so much for everyone who participated today. And we will see you at the ceremony. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Take care. Thank